Yeah, if you are ready. So,
If you could, I mean, we've heard something from Mr. Eliasson about what happened with Robert Seri there.
yeah.
What's your understanding of both of what happened and of notifications that the UN may have made of him going? What can you say about that?
I got this story directly from my ministry because when Robert Seri was captured, Mr. Eliasson was in our ministry. He had a talk with our deputy minister, and the telephone call from Seri approached them, and he explained in details what happened. So while he was going out from the Ukrainian Marine headquarters, he was stopped by the weaponed men. There were Russians. They demanded him immediately to leave the peninsula and to move to the airport. He refused. Then they kept him a long time, then permitted him to go to the hotel. Then, under the pressure, he decided to stop his mission, and he left the peninsula, and he briefed Mr. Eliasson, and now the Security Council members, they are listening the video address from the Mr. Eliasson on his visit to Ukraine.
Are you saying that those who stopped him were Russian or?
Yes, it was filmed by the journalists there, and so they did not even hide that the Russians. The question is some information that they are representing the Don Kazakh, or they are paramilitary, or they are military. So this is the case in Crimea, that a lot of weaponed people in uniform, we identified that practically all of them, they are not Crimean Russians, but they arrived from outside under the pretext that they are tourists. They are going around, they are pressing and threatening people, preparing them for the referendum on the 16th of March. This is what we have in Crimea. Please.
So there seemed to be a little bit of a mishap with the security details. So future UN representatives who may try to travel to the area, will they have a more dedicated security detail from the Ukraine government?
You mean the security details to go to Crimea now? So we do not control this area because all the area, let me see if I have a map with me. All the area is controlled by the Russian regular army or by supported military groups of Russians. So all these white signs give you perception that all the Crimea Peninsula around is controlled not by Ukrainian but the Russian either regular or paramilitary or the weapon group of so-called self-defense. That's why we can't guarantee that the situation is safe, despite the fact that people inside the peninsula are trying to behave correctly. Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian peacekeepers, they try not to be involved any kind of the provocations, not to give a ground for any kind of the conflict. Please.
Are there any current plans to address potentially the GA in the form of a resolution on the situation in Ukraine?
We still have opportunities in the Security Council, but yes, naturally we do understand the weight of the General Assembly, and we are working with our colleagues. Please.
Are there more questions? Ambassador, would you say the situation is getting far worse than it is getting better? How would you describe it?
It's getting worse because of this referendum, which is absolutely illegal. A lot of statements have been made today, but when the first time the Crimea Parliament decided to have this referendum on the 25th of May, I made a statement about illegacy of such a decision because the Ukrainian state has legislation as to referendum. Only pan-Ukrainian referendum is a legal one when the question is about the changes of the territorial borders, including the internal administrative borders. We need, we have the legislation focusing just the exclusiveness of the pan-Ukrainian referendum in this case. That's why when they announced the decision to have it in May, I made the commentaries on that. When they changed for the 30th of March, I made comments, and now they announced today the new date. In 10 days, they are going to have a referendum. How they are going to prepare it? It will be illegal. And how people could take part in that at the gunpoint. Well, this is, well, okay, and then I will come.
Ambassador, does this remind you a bit of what was witnessed in Hungary and Czechoslovakia? What are you thinking in the back of your mind about what you're witnessing?
Politologists, they are comparing a lot of different stories in the past. We could find either in the decades ago, and we could compare it what we had in Ossetia and Abkhazia. A lot of the common things. Well, please.
Ambassador, thank you very much. Do you have any information on the displacement of people inside the country or maybe outside of it? Because there are some reports on refugees. Thank you so much.
There is no refugees. No refugees. There is no big wave of refugees. But what we observe that some of them, they start going inside Ukraine, to the main part of Ukraine. Many of them, they are being invited by the families on the western Ukraine. From Crimea, yes. But we do not have any evidence that a huge way of refugees are going to Russia. Yeah, please.
Thanks a lot. Earlier today, the U.S. announced these without putting any names on it, sanctions and travel bans regarding anyone undermining the territorial integrity of Ukraine. I just wondered, there's some discussion about how high up it could go or whether it should be only people in Crimea. Is your government providing any, well, who do you think should be subject to these things? And do you have any update on the IMF discussion or receiving the funding that the country needs?
Okay, two questions. So as to the sanctions, yes, it was announced much more earlier, but some of the names were discovered today, including the European Union. So I listened and watched by Ukrainian TV today the names of people in Ukraine who brought the country to that stage, including the former president and the government leaders, and those who are inspiring the separatism. So a strong signal was sent from European Union and from United States to those who are keep provoking people for the separatism and who are calling for these annexations and independence. So the signal was sent. As to IMF, yes, we are in a negotiation process with IMF, so we have a good signal from IMF. The principles, the demands and the standards, they are to be discussed. But at least we are in the process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed.